Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newest edition of Dale Center NASCAR betting for the Goodyear 400 at Darlington Raceway. It's throwback weekend. We all wish that more Cup teams would participate in the throwbacks. I know I'm basically a human throwback, to put it mildly, but add a little bit of flair here for the program this weekend. No trucks. We got Xfinity and we got Cup. This is typically a racetrack, just right out the gate. I'm going to tell you, a lot can change throughout the weekend, especially with Cup. But the way we're going to cap this weekend, primarily with Cup race and Xfinity race, and I'm giving keyword race, and you'll find out why in a second, is post-practice, post-qualifying. I've already got a few Cup plays over on dubclub.win. Be sure to check me out over on Dub Club to get winning NASCAR bets all year long for 2025. And we've already had a fantastic start, primarily because of last weekend. We got lucky in Xfinity, there's no question about it, but our Cup cards have been fantastic as of recent. Even our Cup card at Las Vegas, one caution changed that race. And before that one caution, we were in the catbird seat to have another big Sunday. So Sundays have been big overall. I think the analysis has been very good. And, you know, while we haven't always achieved closing line value, we have created very good betting cards based upon what's happened in practice, what's happened in qualifying, and kind of finding where the value is before the green flag on Sunday. So we've been back and forth, like I said, on the CLV deal, but overall profitable. We're up over 20 units on the season now. Like I said, got a little lucky last week with Xfinity, but with Cup, we nailed it. Trucks, I think, was a good card before it got chaotic anyway. Got a little lucky there too. So luck's part of it. I've been saying we are due for some good luck, and we finally got some good luck because we've had a lot of bad luck. Parker Kligerman DQ, I'm going to talk about that all year long because it still pisses me off. That's a 13.5 unit swing on the first race of the season. Crazy, right? So Kligerman DQ, Vegas, we had all the guys running up front. You get one caution, strategy gets mixed up, they go to the back, everybody's worried about fuel, and then it becomes a non-factor. So we lose on Vegas. And there's been a couple more instances, as there always is with bad beats, where we've had an outright finish second, right outside the top 10 on a max bet. It happens. Ultimately, profitability is the key, and we are profitable. And at the end of the program, I'll go back over my Excel sheet to give you guys more detail on where we are exactly from a profitability standpoint just a few weeks into the season. It is a long season. Everything can tumble, everything can rise, it can go either direction in gambling. But here at the Dale Center with your host Dale Tanhart, we're here to lead you into the right direction, as we typically do year after year. And the crew chief, Rocky, apparently disagrees with that because he just walked away. He'll be back, though. He always comes back, even though he is 180 years old and has 17.5 tumors, 3.5 teeth, 1.5 brain cells. Crew chief will find his way back here shortly at the bottom. That would be the right side of your screen. But let's talk about bets. The reason why I said Xfinity race and Cup race earlier is because I'm going back to Cup qualifying. I am going to bet on Cup qualifying. I don't think the card's going to be super heavy. You know, typically Cup qualifying 4 to 6 units. I'm thinking closer to the 4 unit mark on qualifying bets that will drop tomorrow morning. They will be free. They'll be on Dub Club, but they're going to be on Twitter as well with specific unit allocations. And I know I'm an idiot. That's got to be the first thing you're saying. The first thing you said was, this guy's an idiot. He just won't stop. We're 0 for 3 on qualifying cards in the year, minus 16 units. That's just ridiculous. Especially last year after going 14 for 21 on picking the pole. But with the format change, it's messed up everything for me. And I think for a lot of people too, because you've had a lot of unpredictable pole winners. But what I have learned, and I'm hoping that what I've learned from what we've seen in the first few weeks of the season in Cup qualifying at these technical racetracks, forget Daytona, forget Atlanta, we're not counting the super speedway drafting tracks, Martinsville, Vegas, Homestead. We're going to apply that to this weekend, and I think we have big time opportunity. And not to mention that odds are a little bit better than they have been. There's still way too many drivers under 10 to 1 to win the pole. We're looking at like 8 guys under 10 to 1, So the saturation continues, but instead of having like your typical 3 to 5 drivers between 4 to 1 and 7 to 1, now that has widened out to 6 to 1 and 9 to 1. So there is better opportunity for maximizing profitability if you hit it on the head. And that's the problem. That's the difficulty, because only one guy is going to win the pole. And the unpredictability around it, with Michael McDowell especially winning at Vegas, Martinsville, Christopher Bell, you would say, he's Christopher Bell. He's had an amazing year, talented guy. It's not shocking that he wins the pole, but when you look at where he went out, you would think it is, especially with the broadcasters on Fox constantly talking about, oh, the track's getting faster. The track's getting faster. It's going to keep getting faster. It doesn't. It doesn't. What I have learned is the track, and they did do a good job on the broadcast explaining this at Martinsville. After practice, you got a bunch of rubber on the racetrack, right? The track slows down. Rocky, get over here. Hey, get your ass over here. You're barking at a broom. Lay down. Okay, good. Told you you'd come back. Anyway, the track it gets a lot of rubber in practice. So the first few cars in qualifying, like if you go out early, you're screwed. You're not getting the pole. If you go out early, like Ryan Blaney at Martinsville to win the pole was like 6 to 1. He was going out like third. Or no, he didn't go out third, but he went out like in the first 10. I told you guys there's a 0% chance he was going to win the pole. That's just lost money right out the gate. But yeah, if you go out early, your responsibility naturally is to clean the racetrack off. You get a fresh set of Goodyear tires on there and you clean the racetrack off. That process does make the track faster, right? Absolutely. As it continues on, more cars go out, more cars go out. Guess what? After the track gets cleaned off, somewhere between halfway through the 36 to 38 cars and like the last 6 to 8 guys, the track gets slower. And it primarily is because of rubber. Rubber buildup starts happening again. And not to mention that the track or the air temperature is getting hotter. You qualify middle of the day. We're qualifying at 11, 12 o'clock. And we're in South Carolina this weekend. Temperature's going to rise. Temperature's going to rise. Rubber's going to rebuild up. And that's why these guys at the very end aren't setting pole position lap times. Yet the booth is like, oh, it's getting faster. No, it's not. Christopher Bell, when did he go out last week? Mid-pack? Him and Chase Elliott were the top two. They went out back-to-back, I think. They went out middle of the pack. So, I'm going to try it this weekend. Once again, we're qualifying at a time of day, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock-ish, depending on what time zone you're in. I think in Darlington, it's 1 o'clock, between 12 and 2-ish. Air temp's going to rise, and then you're going to have rubber build up on the track. So when I look at qualifying groups here, by the way, I've already said it in the Discord, the Dale Center NASCAR Discord. You can join in a link below with all the other links that we have going on. You can, I'm going to guarantee that this is not expert advice until we start winning again. Cup qualifying bets, we're putting a disclaimer. This is not expert advice. Period. Okay? If I want to bring this pain upon myself, I'm going to do it. And if you want to tail, go ahead. I just really think that this weekend there's big time opportunities. So when I look at the qualifying groups, I look right around this middle of the pack sequencing. You get Chris Buescher that starts Group 2 going out 20th, and Ty Gibbs going out 21st. William Byron going out 25th. Those three drivers I'm really, really zoning in on for Cup qualifying. Now, we're going to ladder our units to make it where it works, where any driver we bet on is going to be profitable. But I got 6 guys I'm betting on, and those 3 are going to be part of it. Ty Gibbs, 40 to 1. I'm really thinking about going a little heavier than you would expect here. People are like, whoa, Ty Gibbs, he's been terrible all year. I know. But you have some good news here with Ty Gibbs. They just brought in a car chief that used to work alongside Kevin Harvick. Got him from Spire, brought him over to Gibbs. He's now back with another powerhouse team. He's a championship-winning car chief. I think that's a good sign. And it even is a better sign that last week at Martinsville, Ty Gibbs had some decent speed. I think he may have been a little bit better than where he wound up. But Martinsville was tough, very difficult to pass. Needed to get off sequence with tire strategy to have a shot at moving through the field. Anywho, there's a little bit of momentum with Ty Gibbs, and that momentum from Martinsville has him in what, based upon what happened earlier in the year at Las Vegas with McDowell winning the pole, Martinsville last week, he is in that sweet spot of where the track might be the fastest. And I know this sounds crazy because you're still playing fucking Russian roulette here, trying to figure out, oh, when's the track going to be good? When is it going to suck? When's it going to slow down? When's the rubber build up? How hot is it going to be? There are too many variables to figure out who's going to be the fastest. There really are, which is why I'm telling you right now, this is not expert advice, so you cannot be mad at me. But I expect the credit if you do win the poll, because I'm taking Ty Gibbs 40-1, big time opportunity. I'm thinking maybe a 0.8 unit bet for me, $40. $40 to win what? Is that $1,600? I'm placing these in the morning, by the way. These have not been placed yet. So you're going to see the unit counts placed in the AM before practice, before qualifying. You will have time to tail if you so please. Ty Gibbs and Chris Buescher, they go out back-to-back 21st or 20th and 21st. You got to feel like that could be the sweet spot. I think it is a certainty that if those two drivers don't mess up, if they don't just like plow it into the wall, have a bad moment off of two, if they run good qualifying laps, as they have here in the past, by the way, don't forget about Darlington trends. Chris Buescher and Ty Gibbs have both qualified very well here in the past. They are both extremely capable of qualifying up front. You know, RFK, we talk about Ryan Preece doing super well and what's going on with Brad Keselowski. Buescher seems to find a way outside of last week at Martinsville, which was a disaster. This has been a good track for them overall. It's been a good track where they've shown great qualifying speed and race speed. So let's start with qualifying. Chris Buescher, with past experience and with where he's going out in the qualifying order, I'm taking 18-1. All these lines via Canby, by the way. Bet Rivers is a good reference. I think my tickets will be Bally technically because, as I've said, I don't know if I've said this publicly on here, but people ask, and it is bizarre, but the sports book that I place qualifying bets on is in the Hard Rock in Biloxi. And people are like, Hard Rock bet, right? No, it is a Bally sports book in the Hard Rock Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. Yeah, it's fucking weird, isn't it? That's the way it's been for quite a while now. I think before Hard Rock bet was a thing, and they haven't changed anything. So very bizarre. But Bally has Canby lines. It's a replicate or a duplicate of what you see on Bet Rivers, and that is why Bet Rivers, you know, is the best reference point for my Canby lines. You know, typically they're on Bally. There's another book that I use at Boomtown, which is not the best casino, but it is Canby lines. So go back and forth between those, kind of depending on what's more convenient. Anywho, qualifying odds all via Canby. If you live in a state that has Bet Rivers, that's the best book. I don't know if the Bally app has qualifying odds. I'm really not sure. I think they do, but can't confirm. But I use the Bet Rivers book on my phone as a reference point to say, okay, this guy is here, there. I know what to bet. I'm going to go to the casino and plug him. Anywho, so Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs, and then I'm going to take William Byron, 8.5-1. I'm hoping this line doesn't move before you guys hammer it. He was 7-1 earlier. Then I saw 8-1. Now I see 8.5-1. I think he's in that sweet spot before the track gets too hot and too rubbered up in qualifying. And just in case I'm wrong here, all right, just in case we finally get a breakthrough at the end of qualifying and someone just puts down a fucking heater regardless of conditions, all driver, all car, you got to go with Joey Logano 8-1. He's won the pole here in Gen 7, had great qualifying moments, has been a pretty good qualifier to start the season too. Remember, Phoenix got bumped by the final car, which was William Byron, earlier this year. Kyle Larson's going out next to last. We know what he's capable of. I'll just leave it at that. He's qualified well here before. He's qualified not so well here before. He's more than capable of winning the pole. Maybe you get that Hendrick Motorsports juju. I mean, we got it right now, right? You get the throwback juju. Terry Labonte would love to see a pole and a win in this car that Kyle Larson's driving. So we're going to throw Larson in there 7-1. Not super often that you get a line like that at a track where Larson is so good at. And then Chase Briscoe. I'm going to go Chase Briscoe. Same thing, going out pretty late. Not as late as Larson, but at 7-1, we're just betting on Briscoe, waiting for the breakthrough to happen. You know, when do we get this breakthrough? When do we get the breakthrough? The 19 team. The Martinsville and Darlington are two tracks where James Small and Martin Truex usually qualified super, super well, just about every single time. He didn't win the pole last week. He's going out more towards the end in the final 10 cars. 7-1. Briscoe and SHR, like he did at Martinsville, typically qualified really well here. Qualified third last fall in the race that he won with Stewart-Haas Racing. So Briscoe 7-1, Larson 7-1, Logano 8-1. Just in case qualifying ends up being lame, you got to have that lame Gano bet for a former pole winner at Darlington. Buescher 18-1, Ty Gibbs 40-1, and William Byron 25. What am I looking at? 8.5 to 1. The other guy I was leaning towards maybe a Ross Chastain, but I feel like they're just so inconsistent. I don't know if I can trust it. But Chastain 25 to 1 could be a good 7th bet if you want to go that far. So one more time to say it more organized. We're going with Briscoe, Larson, Logano, Byron, Ty Gibbs, and Chris Buescher. 6 guys to win the pole. I really feel confident. I know that sounds, you're looking at me, you're like, how can I fucking trust this guy? He's 0 for 3. There's just no way. He's talking about Ty Gibbs right now, who's been driving a Dodge Durango from 1997 all year long. Trust me. Or don't. This is not expert advice. So we just spent 17 minutes on qualifying. Everything else is going to be on Dub Club. Join the Dale Club today. Dubclub.win. That link is below. Subscribe. It's extremely cheap. You can go weekly at $8.33. No, I'm sorry. We don't do weekly. What are we, a fucking ripoff? $8.33 a month. Or you can go $81 for the full year, which is just under $7 a month. So you want to pay the $81, you pay $6.75 a month, or you go month by month and you pay $8.33. There you go. Subscribe to Dub Club. That link is below. The Dale Club has been lights out recently, especially with Cup race bets. Xfinity's been good all year. We've been terrible at trucks until last week, and no trucks this weekend. So Xfinity, Cup qualifying. Those are our 3 options for betting. Now, let's move on to the NASCAR Xfinity Series. I've been getting a lot of questions about Xfinity. Like, people are excited about betting on Xfinity. And man, it is never exciting for me, ever, when we have all these Cup guys in the field. You got Chase Elliott in the number 17 car for Hendrick Motorsports. You got Chastain in the number 9 Junior Motorsports entry, his first start in that equipment. And then Christopher Bell, who won this race last fall, who's right around even money to win. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not betting that. What do you have to gain to bet that right now? Are you insane? He wasn't even supposed to win this race last fall, by the way. It should have been Sheldon Creed. And late race caution took it out of Sheldon Creed's hands. I know people will be looking at Sheldon. He's 9-1 on DraftKings, 10-1 over on BetMGM, and then on FanDuel 9-1 there. So best line is still BetMGM, I believe. Let me check Canby here, make sure. It's funny because last week before when we were recording, 11-1 on Bet Rivers. So Canby 11-1. Bet Rivers, Bally, etc. 11 to 1 is your best line. What I was going to say was we've had lines move right as we were recording, which is not super uncommon. I feel like the thresholds are not super high for the books to react to a big bet. So I feel like if you get a few $100 on, Sheldon Creed at 11 to 1, that will probably drop next to Chase Elliott at 9 to 1. So Elliott did race here last fall, finished fourth, I believe. Wasn't really a winning guy. This hasn't been a great track for him over the years, outside of when he won here in the Xfinity Series back in 2014, I think. Elliott Sadler duel in the green-white checkered. Hadn't been a great track for Chase Elliott, which is why you got to assume he's running it in the Xfinity Series just to get extra laps, at least partially why. So Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain trying to play spoiler this weekend. I'll tell you right now, one big discrepancy that you're going to see me plug over on Dub Club for the Dale Club viewers is Brandon Jones at 28 to 1 on Bet Rivers. Everywhere else I've seen is 20 to 1. I've seen 18 to 1. FanDuel has 24 to 1. Bet Rivers. Oh my God. BetMGM. What am I doing? BetMGM is 35 to 1. Never mind. And this tells you how much I've kept up with the odds for Xfinity so far. As you've seen on Dub Club, I haven't logged any bets. Kind of how I open the show. Post qualifying is very, very important on figuring out who's fast. Even Darlington is, especially for Cup, a pretty decent live betting opportunity race because a lot can change. You've had a lot of chaos here. You've had breakthrough winners with Eric Jones 2022, Chase Briscoe last fall, and you've just had a lot of late race chaos. Chastain, Larson, spring 2023 allows William Byron to win. Last year, 2024, Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher get together, allows Brad Keselowski to win. Throw that in the breakthrough win too, because he hadn't won in so long. But since 2022, you've had 3 breakthrough winners. You've had crazy late race scenarios. And not even to mention, in 2022, the Logano bump and run on William Byron to win that race. And that race was a wreck fest. So the spring Darlington race has been kind of crazy relative to the fall race. Obviously, Eric Jones won fall 2022. Fall 2023 was a Kyle Larson domination. And then fall 2024 was pretty wild towards the end. Dominated by Kyle Larson. Chase Briscoe pops up and wins it. Kyle Busch almost gets it too, running second after having I'd say an 11th place race car. So a lot can change at Darlington. A lot. And it's been pretty fun in the Gen 7 era for the most part. For Xfinity, been more on the predictable side. I'm excited to get into Cup bets here soon, but for Xfinity, I'm fine once again waiting for the most part. I think we are 5. We've had 7 Xfinity cards on the year. 5 have been profitable. We had 1 major L, but everything else we've been pretty consistent in winning. And yeah, we got lucky at Martinsville last week. I'll take it. We were due for some good luck. Anywho, what I like for Xfinity, Ross Chastain. When you look at Ross Chastain in this series since 2020, he's raced a good bit. But the vast majority of his last 17 starts have been in DGM equipment. Mario Gosselin, that's the 91 car, the 92 car tell me how often you see them running up front. That's what Ross Chastain's been racing in for the most part in the Xfinity Series until earlier this year at COTA. That was a little disappointing, but I think at a track like this where Ross has been successful before, I always think back to, I think it was 2018, maybe 2019 when Ross and Kevin Harvick got together, led a lot of laps in that race. Some of his more successful runs in Xfinity were with Chip Ganassi. And I wouldn't even pair that equipment with Junior Motorsports, which is what he has this weekend. So when I look at the Xfinity lines, there's no chance I'm betting on Christopher Bell. I'm not going to bet on Chase Elliott, at least not yet. When I look at, I think, out of the Cup ringers, I think the best value is a Ross Chastain top 3 at plus 120. Now I'm going to scan real quick, make sure there's not a better line. That's via BetMGM. And BetMGM also has Chastain 5 to 1. That's the best line I've seen there as well. I'm going to pull up Hard Rock as well, just because there's a lot of people using Hard Rock, and I wish I could use it more often. You get Xfinity top 10s, which I'm going to talk about here too. If you guys can bet those, I don't think I'll be able to, but Chastain top 3 could be a mortal mega lock. I feel like he's going to be very competitive. You have a lot of youth in this field. You got Connor Zilic, Quapple, even guys like Sam Mayer haven't been super great here. Taylor Gray, Sammy Smith hasn't been great here. So Nick Sanchez, Christian Eckes, William Sawalich, Daniel Dye. This field, the new faces and new places type of shift that's happened in Xfinity for 2025, I think gives a much more likely scenario of a Chastain, Christopher Bell, Allgaier, Elliott, all finish in the top 5. So out of all these guys, Allgaier has been great here. If we want to talk about Xfinity regulars, but out of the Cup guys, at least, Chastain is who I'm looking at. There's a good chance you see me bet his top 3 before. A 2-unit, maybe a 3-unit max play, and then a 5-to-1 ticket for 3/4 of a unit, maybe a full unit. So Chastain is who I'm leaning towards out of the gate. To me, you benefit nothing by betting a Bell ticket at 1.5 to 1. Chase Elliott, I feel like not the best qualifier typically at a track that he hasn't been superb at. I think Chase Elliott, you wait, maybe you get 10 to 1, 11 to 1, and if you really feel like it, take it. He won at Charlotte in this car last year, so another track that Elliott hadn't been great at. So Chase Elliott is on the radar for sure. I'm not fading him. I'm just going to wait and see, because maybe you're looking at a top 5 right now, minus 120. BetMGM doesn't have top 5s up, but DraftKings is minus 120. I'm going to look at Hard Rock for you guys real quick. Elliott for a top 5 is even money on the dot. What I'm hoping for DraftKings or BetMGM, if they'll load him after qualifying, maybe someone like Sheldon Creed or Brandon Jones, or I don't know, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, puts down a heater in qualifying, boosts them up a little bit. Maybe Elliott qualifies mid-pack, and you get a top 5 at plus money. That's kind of my thought here, to go with the Chastain top 3. And DraftKings lets you parlay positionals, by the way. So you can parlay a Christopher Bell win with a Ross Chastain top 3 and a Chase Elliott top 5. And right now, not very good. It's 8 to 1 for that. I mean, that's a lot you got to have happen. But I think given the lack of experience and the raw youth in this series, this could be a good week to try out one of those. Maybe you replace Elliott top 5 with an Allgaier top 5. Or if you're big on Allgaier to win or run better than that, an Allgaier top 3 and a Chastain top 5. You've kind of got a good opportunity to get a nice little parlay if you want to go that route. But to me, what I'm going to stick with out the gate, Chastain top 3, plus 120 on BetMGM, feels like a max play. 5 to 1 outright, feels like a good play there. And then Brandon Jones, I'm going to take the 35 to 1. I've been betting on Brandon Jones every fucking week. I know it hasn't worked out. If you had his top 3 at Phoenix, you got that. Good job. We talked about him big there. We talked about him last week. He was in a borderline winning position after all the adversity he went through. And then he got wrecked coming to the checkered flag. I don't even know where he finished. So Brandon Jones, somebody asked in the Discord, would you bet his top 10 at plus 110? No. Too volatile. The driver is too volatile. They made mistakes at Martinsville last week, lost a shit ton of track position. You can't trust him for a mega play like that. But what you can do is take the 30 to 1, take the 25 to 1, take those for an outright, a 7 to 1, 8 to 1 top 3 until it cashes, and it's going to be big when it does. Now, if you do that every week, you're going to fucking lose, because he's not going to win a Daytona, Atlanta, Talladega, But we know what tracks Brandon Jones are good at, and we've had a bunch of them recently. Where he's been successful with Joe Gibbs Racing in the past. I talk about all this youth. I talk about all this inexperience. Brandon Jones has been in the Xfinity Series for 19 years, ladies and gentlemen. That is a fact. Look it up. So when we have all the youth in here at a track that is not good for rookies, it's not good for young guys, Brandon Jones has the experience to really shine here, like he should have shined at Martinsville, like he did shine at Phoenix. Telling you right now, Brandon Jones 35-1 outright on BetMGM is not going to make it to Sunday or Saturday afternoon. It's not happening. 10-1 for a top 3 on BetMGM as well. Holy fuck. Yeah, I think I'm going to bet both those. This is a guy that has beat Cup regulars. At this track. At other tracks. He is capable. And he's in a capable car. The point I hadn't even gotten to yet, when I talk about Chastain and Jones especially, the two teams that dominate this racetrack in the Xfinity Series are Junior Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing. Seems like every year they've got the best cars. You get Allgaier wins, you get Gibbs wins with their Cup guys, whether it's Bell or Denny Hamlin who jumped down. Sheldon Creed should have won this race last fall in a Gibbs entry. I'm going to keep an eye on Sheldon Creed. They haven't qualified super well this year, so I don't know if 11-1. I'm thinking about it, but not for sure yet. Haas has been kind of back and forth here over the years, so I'm thinking about a Sheldon Creed ticket, but what I'm going to lean towards and what you're probably going to see pre-practice, pre-qualifying tomorrow morning is Jones ticket outright and top 3. Ross Chastain outright in top 3. And I think that's it for Xfinity. But I've given the notes, I've given the pointers, kind of what I'm looking at. We're going to see what Chase Elliott does, see where he might move to. We're going to keep an eye on Sheldon Creed. That could be on the card, pre-practice, pre-qualifying, but I haven't made up my mind yet. So remember, Xfinity has been the most efficient of our betting cards all year long. So priority for Xfinity, post-practice, post-qualifying, super important. Anywho, now let's talk about the NASCAR Cup Series Goodyear 400. After a massive weekend and another good Cup card, I'm hoping we nail it again. And once again, I can't reiterate enough, this is a track that's very important post-practice, post-qualifying. Very important in the betting sense. When I look at the odds, when I look at the lines and tell you what I already have, I'm going to pull up a couple more references here on my phone at least. Talked about qualifying already, and qualifying is going to matter big time. Track position is going to be important. I did say this race is typically chaotic. A lot can change, but track position is going to matter. There's no question. In the event that you get a snooze fest, which I feel like at Darlington we're kind of due for one. In the event that you get a snooze fest, you're going to want guys that you expect to qualify well. You're going to want guys that typically run well here. You're going to want guys that have track position. There's going to be some underdog plays. There's already been some underdog plays. And if you tail on Dub Club, follow on Dub Club, the Dale Club. Had a bunch of new subscribers this week, so thank you guys. I'm glad you guys are supporting the content and subscribing to getting more winners like we've had over the past couple weeks. I've had 4 bets that I have placed that I posted on Dub Club way early in the week. And it starts with Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, 7-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you can't get 7-1, I'm fine with 6-1. I don't think the books are going to move heavily on him. He typically qualifies pretty well here. I didn't take him to win the pole because he's like 5.5 to 1. I feel like that's too expensive based upon how unpredictable qualifying has been this year. He's been kind of streaky in qualifying, but I do think if you can get a 7-1 ticket on Reddick, you should take it. 6.5 to 1, I think, is all right too. I do think 7-1 is nice, and it puts me in a good spot where if he does qualify well, if he does have the best data and practice on long run speed, I feel pretty good because I could see someone like Reddick, if he practices well and qualifies up in the top 10, I could see someone like him shrinking. I could see someone like him moving more towards 5-1, 4.5-1, because he's been very, very good here. I mean, he had the car to beat in this race in 2024, just gave that win away, made some questionable decisions, especially on that slide job move when he was clearly better than Buescher. Just felt like he got desperate and panicked, wrecked himself along with Chris Buescher. So Tyler Reddick, 7-1's good. 6.5-1 is good as well if that's all you can have or all you can find. 6.5-1 still available on FanDuel, BetMGM, and DraftKings, by the way, and BetRivers. Everybody seems pretty aligned there. I also went with Chase Briscoe. I think Chase Briscoe, if you can get 14-1 or better, worth it. This is a guy that can come out here and win the pole. 14-1's available over on BetMGM. I'm looking at BetRivers, also 14-1. DraftKings, 12-1. FanDuel still 16-1. No line movement there. Take it on FanDuel. This is going to be under a unit for sure, but Chase Briscoe has been phenomenal here at Darlington. A lot of sentimental success here, not just with winning last fall and winning here in Xfinity, but kind of what it's meant to him with the timing of that win where he beat Kyle Busch in 2020 after he had lost or his wife had a miscarriage. That was a very big deal, and it just seems like more motivation there has helped Chase Briscoe. And that win last fall was crazy, and it was very special, and it continues that love for Darlington that he has, and it's a track that suits his driving style. So Chase Briscoe now in the best equipment he's ever been in. Once again, as I keep reiterating, we're waiting for the breakout. We are waiting for the breakout. It could happen this weekend. He could go back to back. Won the Southern 500 last fall, wins the race on Sunday. I think Chase Briscoe will be a top 10 guy, probably a top 5 guy without mistakes, and I think will be a contender with the Larsons and the Reddicks, the Byrons. I think he is going to lead the charge for the Joe Gibbs camp this weekend. If there was a prop out there, highest finishing Gibbs driver, maybe Caesar Sportsbook would offer some shit like that. Chase Briscoe. So after practice qualifying, I'll see where we get top Toyota stuff at. Obviously I'm going to consider that. Even if he doesn't qualify well, he's going to be on my radar for more props. So Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick in the Toyota camp, and then Ty Gibbs. Once again, bet him in qualifying. 40-1 to win the pole. He's now moved to 60-1 to win the race. Maybe you get a cash out opportunity. Bet it on FanDuel, 60-1. Maybe you get a cash out opportunity, because I am convinced, forget the qualifying bet for a second. I know we bet at 40-1. I am convinced that Ty Gibbs will qualify top 10. If he qualifies top 10, I would be shocked if you see 60-1 available to win the race. So if you don't believe in Ty Gibbs, if you believe that his car sucks like it has most of the year, take the bet. Maybe get a cash out opportunity over on FanDuel. That would be a recommendation there. I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna ride it out, because this is a track where he's been good at in qualifying trim and in race trim. Ended up finishing second in this race last year to Brad Keselowski. Had a good car, had a good drive. I'm not giving up on Ty Gibbs yet. It has been an abysmal start to the season. There's no doubt. They've lost something ever since him and Chris Gale split in 2024. No question. But I feel like there's a little bit of momentum to be gathered after Martinsville last week. I think they had a better car than where they typically ran. I think Ty Gibbs, from past experience, and you get the new car chief, a little bit of momentum. They're trying. They're making it better. And Darlington in the Gen 7 era has been synonymous for breakout winners. And Ty Gibbs would fit that mold perfectly this Sunday. So Ty Gibbs, 60-1. I got 50-1. Better movement now. 60-1 on FanDuel. I'd bet 50-1 still, obviously. So I think it's worth a sprinkle. You're betting $10 to win 500, 600? It's a very low risk bet at the end of the day. And then Austin Dillon top 10. This line moved so quick. This line moved within an hour, and sometimes that's pretty standard for FanDuel. I got Austin Dillon top 10 at 11-1. I don't think it's all doom and gloom if you didn't get that, because we know Austin Dillon's not the best qualifier. I hate to see that cut in half on FanDuel at now 5.5-1. Hopefully, if you subscribe to Dub Club, you subscribe to the Dale Club, you got that ticket, because I think the best I've seen since Wednesday. I'm looking at BetMGM right now. Where the fuck is he? There he is. 6.5-1. I'll check Hard Rock once again. Oh, by the way, I forgot to come back to Hard Rock to talk about some Xfinity top 10s. Hold on, I'll do that in a second once we wrap this up. 8-1 top 10 on Hard Rock. They always have better top 10s. If you have Hard Rock, 8-1's fine. I would take 8-1. That'd be my minimum, though, before practice and qualifying, because AD's not the best qualifier. Much better racer than he is in qualifying. Maybe you get a shot to get 10-1 again on MGM or FanDuel. From what I've seen over the past few weeks, no matter what happens in practice or qualifying, typically the books shrink those top 10 odds. So if you're able to use Hard Rock, maybe you take the 8-1 right now. If you believe that Austin Dillon could get a top 10, he's been kind of knocking on the door throughout these last few weeks. So, I feel like it's weird, but I feel like his cars have been better than Kyle Busch. So I think Austin Dillon, decent track experience or decent track resume here, running in the top 20 a bunch. He's had a runner up here back when he ran second to Kevin Harvick, 2019, 2020, one of those couple of years. Can't remember the year exactly, but I think Austin Dillon is a good candidate for an underdog top 10, especially if you get some chaos like we've had in a lot of these Darlington races. It's always nice to have some of those underdog top 10 guys. So, we'll kind of see where the pendulum swings after practice and qualifying, and we'll revisit some of those underdogs that could make the card, like we've had on a lot of our betting cards and have paid off pretty well. So, reiterating for the 8 millionth time, most of what we're going to do is going to be post-practice and qualifying. I encourage you to watch practice and qualifying on Amazon Prime tomorrow afternoon to gather as much information, eye test, statistics with the NASCAR app on lap averages, as much as you can to figure out who unloads with speed, who's good, who's going to start up front. It always helps. Even if you don't catch it live, watch the replay. Watching those sessions is very, very important. And as much as everybody hates on the Fox team, sometimes I hate on them too with things that they say. And typically they're pretty good at outlining everything you need to know for the race in those sessions. So I encourage you to watch those, and we'll revisit the betting card over on dubclub.win with specific unit allocations. Be sure you subscribe there to see all of my plays for the Xfinity race on Saturday and the Cup race on Sunday. Qualifying is going to be free, not expert advice, because based on how it's been, we're probably going to fucking lose, but I hope we don't. Everything else is going to be over on dubclub.win on my profile. So I'm going to recap everything one more time on all of my bets that I currently have, which, by the way, I post on Dub Club, and I still give them out for free here. So Cup qualifying, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron to win the pole. For the Cup race, outright, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, top 10, Austin Dillon. For the Xfinity race, I have not bet these, but what I'm thinking, Chastain top 3, big bet. Chastain outright, 5-1. Maybe a Sheldon Creed ticket at 11-1, and we're going right back to Brandon Jones, 35-1 at BetMGM outright, 10-1 top 3. They're worth a couple of sprinkles before the weekend with how good he can be in qualifying and with his track resume. So to finish that note on Xfinity, a couple top 10 bets I like for Xfinity that I can't bet. I don't think I'll be able to because they're on Hard Rock. But a couple top 10 bets I'd maybe think about. Christian Eckes, 3.5-1. He's the guy I'm looking at. I know he's 11-1 for a top 5. Kind of looking at that too. I know Eckes is a rookie, somewhat, But the guy is extremely experienced. He's been in NASCAR for years now. I feel like he's got more of a veteran presence than a lot of these other younger guys that are in the Xfinity series. So 3.5 to 1 for a top 10 at a track he was very good at in the Truck Series. Yeah, Christian Eckes could be worth a play. Harrison Burton, same price, 3.5 to 1. I'm also potentially tempted to bet his outright at like 100 to 1. In case he qualifies well, this is a good driver's racetrack. Experience. He's got plenty of it. So Harrison Burton is in that range of 10 to 1 or better for a top 5, 3.5 to 1 for a top 10. Maybe you could pair both those and get a couple accidents, couple chaotic moments. They get through them. I think both Eckes and Burton, without incidents, will finish between 10th and 15th at worst. Like on pace, on driver talent, if things just go right, they will be between 10th and 15th. So maybe 3.5 to 1 range could be decent for those guys. And Daniel Dye, who got a top 10 last week, 8 to 1. I feel like everybody keeps betting that every fucking week. I mean, I don't know. Think about it. Anywho, that's what I got. And before we get off here, I know I've been yapping my ass off for not a ton of bets. But remember Darlington. You got to think about it. It's very, very good for post-qualifying analysis. I'm going to show you guys real quick. Spreadsheet. So far, this is what we have. Like I said, very early start to the season. We're up basically 18 units on Cup races, on Cup race betting cards, dating back to the Clash. I do include the Clash. I bet on it. I include the duels. If you want to, I mean, shit, if you want to split the duels into 2 different races, which they are, then you can do that as well. But I categorize them as one. Cup qualifying, minus 15, basically minus 15.5 units. 0 for 3. That's too much money. Qualifying bets from now on, non-expert advice until we fucking figure it out. And hopefully Ty Gibbs will be our savior this weekend. No pun intended with that. But Xfinity has been our best, just over 21 units in the green. And then trucks, we've been terrible at all year long, and we got bailed out on last Friday, just around 3 units in the red. All in all, we are just over 20 units in the green via our NASCAR bets. And all, if you want to just disregard qualifying, which I know you're like, well, you bet them. Yeah, I know, obviously. It has hurt my bank account, my retirement fund, just like the stock market's doing right now. If you want to exclude qualifying, NASCAR race cards, NASCAR betting cards that are just racing, Saturday races, Sunday races, no qualifying included, we're 13 for 22 on securing profitability. And that does include the Clash. So it includes the Clash, both dual races, 13 for 22 on securing a profit. What is that? 50 cards have been 57.5, 58% profitable so far. So that's pretty good, I feel like, considering some of the bad beats we've had. If you want to include qualifying, we're 13 for 25 on securing profitability on our betting cards to start 2025. So just over 20 units in the green if you've tailed every single bet I've given in 2025. And if you want to scan through the Discord, you want to scan through Dub Club to see everything, you can. It's all there. So that's where we are to start 2025. As I've said, long season ahead for the NASCAR betting slate. Be sure to check out, by the way, our friends over at advanced.gg. Premium performance supplements. They're our first official iRacing stream sponsor. If you're into the iRacing stuff, 10% off any product using that link below, and promo code DALE at checkout. Advanced.gg, perfect for gamers, perfect for racers, perfect for bettors if you want to lock in. And that's what we do here with the NASCAR bets and with the iRacing stuff too. So very thankful for those guys. Get your focus. This is good shit. So check those out along with the bets. Check out Grid Rival for our NASCAR Fantasy League and use promo code DALE there as well to get a deposit matching bonus up to $100 to play Grid Rival's very popular picks game. It's fantasy for NASCAR motorsports lovers. Check that out in the bio as well, or in the description as well. And then join the Discord, everything on Twitter, Instagram, all the other dumb shit. That's up to you. This has been Dale Center NASCAR Betting. Thank you guys for watching. be sure to subscribe. One more time to the Dale Club. Dubclub.win is where you're going to see all the full betting cards after practice, after qualifying, with specific unit allocations for Xfinity and Cup this weekend. You guys have a fantastic throwback weekend. The Xfinity Series race is going to be a fucking masterful time machine. Cup's kind of half and half, but it's going to be a fun weekend. Darlington's always a blast. Very good race to go to in person as well. So enjoy throwback weekend for the Goodyear 400, and I will see you soon.